Sorry for those of you who are here, I have to repeat some of this information because I started the session and forgot to start recording. For those who are new, my name is Brennan Dunbar. I'm going to be your math teacher likely from here on till the end of the year, or as long as you're with us at Online Learning Center. I'm mostly addressing the new students right now because we just started Q3, which means it was an opportune time for certain students to come to the Online Learning Center and others to leave the Online Learning Center. And usually it's not a very difficult transition because most students would be starting a new class. So they'd be in the same position as every other student in the class. The only thing that would be different is that because they're new to online learning, they'd have to learn a little bit about how to log in and navigate around Blackboard. But as far as where they start the class, they start at the beginning with everyone else. And the problem with Math 9 is that it's taught at different paces and in different quarters at every school. Some schools have it in Q1 and Q2. Some schools have it in Q3 and Q4. Some schools run it year round. And teachers teach the units in different orders, and sometimes they use the recommended textbooks, and sometimes they don't use the recommended textbook, which means Math 9 becomes a bit of an issue for students who are coming to the Online Learning Center in the middle of a year somewhere. Now, it's not an insurmountable challenge, but it does take a little time for us to organize schedules and figure out where people are, because we don't know unless we're told what units of study you've already done and how are you doing with your math. Are you able to do work independently? Are you able to take responsibility for your work and schedule your workday at home, because that's a large part of online learning. You're not going to be in a classroom in front of a teacher, so you do have to self-regulate, self-manage, and schedule your day out appropriately. But I sent out a questionnaire or a survey, and some people had a little difficulty accessing it, but I think most people got in okay. And in that survey, I asked you, the most important questions were, what units have you done so far, and how do you feel about your math? Because we've got two different math classes, and one of them works more or less as a cohesive group moving forward, day to day, section to section, unit to unit as a large group. And the other class tends to work a little bit more independently, and we'll have students working on different units at different times. And there tends to be a bit more live sessions are less whole group, and live sessions are more small group or meeting with individuals or drop-in help. So we're doing our best to schedule students and place them in the appropriate classroom. And it does take quite a bit of organization. I've spent most of the last 3 days just working on that part of Math 9. So if you are a new Math 9 student, you're probably feeling a bit overwhelmed. You're probably not sure what to do. You're entering a class that everybody seems to be kind of halfway through, and we're starting in the middle of a unit, and I don't know where anything is. Just take a step back and relax. It's going to be okay. My goal today is to work through 5.4. We're in the polynomials unit in 5.4, and I'm going to go through the content for subtracting polynomials, and I'm going to try to do it fairly quickly today. And I'm comfortable doing that because I have additional tutorial videos posted in every section, every unit, that are in addition to these live group sessions. So I'm comfortable every once in a while to use the live session time, not necessarily as 100% teaching time, but to handle other issues like this, knowing full well that if students struggle with a slightly increased pace for that particular day, they can always go back and either watch the live recording again. Again, these live sessions are always recorded, and I always post the links, or go to the tutorial video that I made a couple of years ago and use that to help work through the process. So in short, today I'm going to go through 5.4. If we have new students that are here today that feel like, I don't know where we are, I don't know what's going on, that's okay. Just bear with me while I try to get through this and work with students that have been with me since the beginning of the school year. So this recording here is ideally just me and my newer students and new students who weren't able to attend this session that are watching this live session. This will be a bit of an orientation to Blackboard and Math 9. Right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm going to share it as basically as a web browser, so that you can see on my screen what you should be able to see on your screen when you're in the Blackboard classroom. Just takes a little while to boot up. Okay, so you made it into Blackboard. That's clear because you're watching this video. when you log into Blackboard, it may look a little differently than mine because I've got all sorts of classes, but this is our class. That's our logo. And when you log in, you'll see something like this because that's the home page. Now, I'm going to switch it to student preview because I've got all sorts of options and other things that you don't have. So I'm going to enter student preview, which means this should be exactly what you see minus that top bar. Okay, so you managed to find the virtual meeting space. That's great. The home page is the announcements page, and all I do on the announcements page typically is if something comes up, I'll post it, and then on Fridays I put up this little calendar thing to show you what we're covering on each day and what's due and when it's due. I will also use it for things like this. I made reference in my 5.4 session to live session canceled. Please use the video for 5.3. The reason I had students, do this on their own is because it was the change of the quarter, and I have to deal with many grade 9 students that joined us in OLC and try to find out what math class they should be in and where they should start and whatnot. So I asked them to do it on their own, and I did that via an announcement. So whenever you get to your class every day, you'll be on the announcement page. This will always look the same, so just give it a quick scroll down and just make sure there's nothing underneath it. I always like to keep this one as the very top item, but underneath it goes in date order, right? So this one is the most recent, and then the least recent stuff underneath. So that's every day. Basically, just come into the website at some point and check and make sure there's no announcements, the live sessions are on as scheduled or whatnot. There is a Start Here button that I recommended that all students who have not used Blackboard before start at. Now, there's an orientation. It doesn't take very long. Okay, but if you've used Blackboard before or it seems to be making sense to you, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to go and do all of this stuff. But if you do, have a question or you're not sure how to do something, click on the help or go and do one of these tutorials. How do I complete online math? All right, I'm going to go through these questions one at a time. Where is my textbook? My hope is that most of you still have the Math Makes Sense 9 textbook from your physical school. I know that may not be a reality. Okay, this is what it looks like. That's what it looks like, the one with the eagle. So if you have that from the school that you were at before, great, keep it. Don't bring it back to your school. If you don't, I want you to email me because we're going to have to find a way to get you either a physical textbook or a digital copy of the textbook. All right? You do need the textbook. So that answers that question. How do I complete assignments? All right, Mohammed, then you're either going to have to find a version, you're going to have to find a textbook somehow, and that may include you emailing me. Make sure you email me so that we can set up a time for you to come and pick up a textbook at Marion Graham. Okay. How do I complete assignments? Okay, that's probably the most important thing. Now, every unit I try to make things as consistent as possible. Every unit is organized the exact same way. You are going to spend 95% of your time in this section right here, learning modules. In learning modules, you are going to see each unit. And now there's something called CCA 9 in there. You're going to see a CCA 9 unit in there. Don't worry about that. Okay, you're not going to have to worry about the CCA 9 stuff, but everything else is straight from the math textbook. There is 9 chapters, or there are 9 chapters in the textbook. We're doing 9 units. We do them in a slightly different order, though, because I found in the past that that unit 1 is actually fairly difficult. So I like to start with unit 3 or chapter 3 in the textbook, rational numbers, because it was, it's a little bit easier. So the order in which we did things in this course was chapter 3, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 4, and then from here on in, it's just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's why they're out of order here. Every unit's going to look more or less the same when you click inside it. So I'm just going to use unit 3 as an example. When I click inside unit 3, you'll see, okay, on this side, little index, okay? And right from the top, it says the notes for unit 3 can be found below. You should print off a copy of these notes and go through the example while watching a tutorial video for each section. Okay, use a pencil and eraser on your notes. Now, I'm leaving this up to you. You are working at home. If you don't need to print them off and you understand what's going on and you're able to make, some briefer notes for yourself, that's, there's a reality that comes with online learning, and that is you have to be responsible for your own work. And if a teacher recommends that you do something, you need to do it okay? Or you need to do whatever works best with you while still ensuring that you learn. Okay? And everybody looks different that way. But one thing that is so much different than being in a physical school is that you do not have a teacher in a classroom with you who notices when you're getting off task, or notices when you make a mistake, or notices that you've sort of started down the wrong track on a question. Okay? In an online school, you are responsible for yourself. Okay, there's no teacher standing over your shoulder, which means it's on you to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing it. And that's very, very difficult for a 13, 14-year-old student. Not going to lie, it's very, very difficult, but it's the way it is when you're online. So that's why I always have the notes at the beginning of each unit, and you'll notice they're in PDF format. So if I click on those notes, it just opens them up, and there's 3.1, so that will be one lesson. 3.1, one lesson, just like I did today in 5.4. I'll go through it, I'll show you the examples, I'll show you how to do things, and we'll make our notes packages, and then we're done for the day, and then the next day we do 3.2, or 2 days later we do 3.2, depending on our schedule. So you've got all the notes right at the beginning of the unit. You can print them off and write in, just like I would have you do in a classroom. Some people like to have them on their computer and just type things in maybe copy and paste, pick screen caps into Word and then type over top of it, or some people have tablets with pens. How you take your notes, how you do your learning is totally up to you. All right, so there's your notes. Again, first thing at the top of every unit. And I occasionally put the answers to the questions from the textbook there, so that when you're doing the assignments and practice questions that you know what the answers are. But the reality is, if you have the textbook, you have the answers because they're all in the back of the textbook. I'm not even sure why I put that up there, to be honest with you. Okay, then if there's any additional things that might help with the unit, that's usually the next step down. So for this, for rational numbers, a lot of students appreciate having a number line or some number line pages to work on. So if we're starting with like a -1 and then we've got to subtract 5 more, a lot of students like using number lines to move left and right with positive and negative numbers. So I thought that might be useful for this particular unit. So I made some blank number lines, and this is just the same thing. And this one's just got numbers on it from -10 to +10. Okay. Then usually we get into the actual guts of the course. So for each section, there are going to be tutorial videos that I've made in the past. So most of the videos that you see from YouTube that are linked in here, this is me from a couple of years ago building the course for the very first time from the ground up. So that is a video that you can access at any time. They tend to be long. They tend to be, probably 30 minutes to sometimes an hour plus. And the reason for that is some students need a little bit of extra explanation and need me to move at a slower pace, and that's fine. I don't want to leave anyone behind. If you find that the videos are too slow, okay, I'm talking too much, it's too hard to, stay focused on me talking for 45 minutes, I get that. I don't like to listen to myself talk either. There's a speed up button on YouTube that you can use. So if you figure that Dunbar's just going too darn slow, I get it already, Dunbar, stop talking, okay? Why don't you just go down to the little gear at the bottom, and then go to playback speed and make it like 1.5 times and see if you still feel like you are understanding. I'll sound a little different, but the content's the same. So now it's going to take you 50% less time. And for instance, this particular lesson is 33 minutes in length, but if you're watching it at 1.5 speed, it's not going to take you nearly that long. The thing is, it has to still make sense, It doesn't do you any good just to watch it very quickly and not do the work or not understand the examples. Then you've just wasted 15 minutes instead of spending a half an hour wisely. So you need to be aware of that if you're going to speed up the videos. But I mentioned that right up front. I know the videos are a little slow. It's for students who need a little extra time or a little extra explanation or one more step in the process. Okay, so if you don't need that and you're doing well, that's fine. You just blaze ahead and it's all good. I also put the answers for the notes at the bottom underneath the video. So these would be the notes package that I showed you right at the very beginning, but these are them after I've done the session for the video. Okay, So you do have, if you missed something in the video, you do have a copy of these as well, or you can use them to study with, or what have you. But the reality of math is you're not going to understand or learn math just by watching it. You've got to do it. You just have to do it. So for each of these little sections, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, etc., I have a textbook assignment. Okay? I have a textbook assignment, and that textbook assignment is practice questions. You do the practice questions, you check your answers in the back of the book. If you do 3 of them, and then go check the answers. Don't do the entire assignment and then check your answers, because if you screwed up on question number 1, chances are you messed the rest of them up too. So it's always a good idea to do a couple, check the answers, do a couple more, check the answers. If you are getting it and things are going well and you can do half the questions and you feel comfortable for the quizzes in the exam, that's fine. That's part of your responsibility as a student, is making some decisions like that. However, don't just do the first 3 questions, and if you get them right, assume that you know what you're doing. The questions in the textbook get more difficult further down the page, which means if you feel like you can get away with doing half the questions, make sure you do some from the beginning, make sure you do some from the middle, and make sure you do a few from the end, okay? That way, at least you're getting a few easy questions, a few middle questions, a few difficult questions, and if you're doing them all correctly and your answers all check out, then you're probably in good shape for the quiz. And I think that's probably something that you know just from having taken math for 8 or 9 years in your life already. So that's what 3.1 looked like. Then there's a quiz for 3.1. I don't take the homework in. I assign it. It's required. You need to do it. Okay? But I'm not taking it in. Okay? Quizzes are how I find out if you know what you need to know. When you click on a quiz, it has a due date. Please abide by that due date. Every quiz has a PDF attached to it. What most students do is they just open it and print it off and fill it in with pencil and then take pictures of it and hand the pictures in. Some students print it off. The best method, I think, for everybody involved is to print it off, fill it out in pencil, take pictures with your phone, and then use an app on your phone to make a PDF. And I've got one that I recommend right at the beginning of my materials. And I can't remember what it's called. I'll go there in a second. But it's always the best way, because students take good pictures. They compile however many pages the quiz is. If the quiz is 4 pages, it's just one file, right? It's just going to be one document, one PDF file with 4 pages. Each page is a picture of your quiz page with the answers on it. So if the quiz is 4 pages long, you only have to hand in one file. So most people print it off, put their name on it, answer the questions in pencil, and then compile it by taking pictures with their phone, turn it into a PDF, and hand it in. If you just want to take pictures with your phone and then submit the pictures, that's fine. You can submit as many pictures as you want. Some students take their pictures from their phone and put it in like a Word document or something like that, or a Google Doc, and hand the Google Doc in. That's fine. Okay? So after they've printed off, let's pretend that I printed this off and I filled it in and I took pictures. How do I hand it in? Okay? You always have to go down here to attach files. You can add comments if you want. If there's something you need to tell me about, like let me know if one of the pictures is too fuzzy or something like that. You can type it down in the comments. But you need to go to Browse Local Files. Okay? Then you've got to find that PDF for the pictures or however you handed it in. Okay? You got to find that document. Let's just pretend that it's this. Then you click Open, and you can see it attaches to the assignment. You can do that as many times as you want. So if you've got 3 files to hand in, you can go right back to Browse Local Files, and then you can pick another file. And now you see there's 2 files attached. So if you had 2 pictures you wanted to hand in, you could do that. But like I say, the best method is just to use your camera and an app to make a PDF out of however many pages the quiz or exam is. Okay, I'm just going to not attach those. And then at the very end, make sure you hit Submit. When you hit Submit, okay, it gives you a message instantly that you submitted it. It says, success, your submission appears on this page. It shows you what you handed in. It shows you if it was late or if it was on time, and it shows you the grade. That's the file I handed in. I didn't have a quiz, so I just handed in a random PDF file. And then when I get it, I mark it right on this page. So you can see the feedback. The deal with quizzes is you get one attempt, or sorry, you get one chance to take your quiz back and fix any questions you got wrong. So the first time you hand in your quiz, all I'm going to do is give you check marks or X's. I'm not going to tell you what you did wrong. I'm just going to tell you the question that you did wrong, or I'm going to circle it somehow. If you wish, you don't have to, but if you wish, you can look at which ones you had right and wrong, and you can fix the questions that you had wrong and submit it one more time for full marks. Okay? If it's wrong the second time, then obviously I will give you a bit more feedback on why you got it wrong. But I think that's fair to give you kind of 2 cracks at each quiz. You do not have the same option on the exam. The exam is you get 1 chance and that's it. The reason I give you an extra chance on the quizzes is because they're supposed to help us identify things that we don't know or things that we need to figure out before the unit exam. Think of the quizzes as sort of a regimented practice before the big game. And the exam is the big game. And there's no excuses for the big game. Either you practiced enough or you didn't. And if you didn't, you're going to get things wrong. All right, 3.2, you'll notice I broke this into 2 separate days. So that's 2 separate lessons, but it's the same deal as in 3.1. Here's the tutorials. Okay, here's the answers, which means basically just the notes package filled in. Here's your textbook assignment. And then guess what? Underneath it says 3.2 live session. What's the difference between these two? All right, so the one that just says 3.2 adding rational numbers, these are the videos that I did a couple of years ago when I first made the class. The live session, this would be a very specific video that I did of September 10th this year, okay? And I posted it so you can go back and look at it. Now, for instance, in this, today, I did 5.4 with all of you in a live session. I have recorded that live session. And when you come back and check in your class tomorrow, when you check in 5.4, or sorry, when you check in polynomials 5, and you go down to 5.4, okay, you're going to see the regular 5.4, and then right underneath it, you're going to see something that says live session recording from February 2nd. So basically, you've got 2 videos that show you how to do things. All right, now when we get to exams, I already went through quizzes. When you get to exams, it's pretty much the same process as the quizzes. Okay, so you get down near the bottom of the unit, you've done everything, you've watched the live sessions or attended the live sessions rather, you've checked back on the live sessions if you forgot how to do something. There's a practice exam at the end of every unit. And the practice exam I give you, okay, is just a PDF. You open it up, okay, print it off, and do it yourself. What you were supposed to do with this practice exam is not check your notes, okay? You should study, but you shouldn't check your notes. I want you to do the exam, and then you're going to grade it yourself because I give you a video that shows you exactly how to do every one of the questions on the practice exams, and I also give you my answer key for the practice exam so that you can mark it yourself. Obviously, if you studied and you wrote the practice exam and you did really well and you got every question right, all your answers match mine, you're ready to write the real exam. If you've got half the questions wrong, you probably need to study a bit more, all right, or do some more practice questions. After you're ready and you've written the practice exam and you've checked your answers and you feel like you're in good shape, now you're ready for the unit exam. Unit exams always have 2 parts. There's a multiple choice section, and that's done right on the computer. So you click up here in the multiple choice section, it's going to give you a question. Click begin. It's going to give you a question. You're going to pick whichever one you think is the right answer, save answer, say, to go to the next one, pick whatever you think is the right answer. And at the end, you're going to save and submit it. Okay. And then you've done it. Okay, you only get 1 chance, so make sure you get it right. Okay, now it'll tell you right away how you did. Okay, I only did 2 questions. I got them both wrong because I wasn't looking. And so I know that I got basically 0%, 0 out of 12 on this. Okay, ideally, you will do better. So you do the multiple choice section one day, and then the very next day, you have to do the written section. Okay, so I'm just going to go back here. That was unit 3. And the written section is just like the quizzes, okay? It's something that is a PDF. There it is right there. You got to download it, print it off, show all your work to receive full marks, take pictures. See, this is an example of an exam that's more than 1 page, right? This is 2 pages. So you fill it out in pencil, take 2 pictures, make 1 PDF out of those 2 pictures, and then hand it in the exact same way you hand in quizzes. Go to Browse Local Files, hand in the file, submit it, I mark it, I get it back to you. You can always check your grades in the My Grades area over here. So this will show you everything that you've handed in. It'll show you your grade. And if I've marked it, see this one says needs grading. Okay. If I've marked it, then you will have another link where you will be able to see what you handed in. Okay, so this is the thing you handed in, and you'll be able to see my check marks, my X's, my little notes, as well as your grade. So you can always check on what's been marked and what grade you got here in my grades. And I usually have a running total for your current mark for the class and also for your current mark in each unit. All right, question there. Can you work ahead if you understand the work? Yes, Grace, and please do. I don't want to slow anybody down, particularly people who, we've got all sorts of different students, and some students in OLC are extremely good at math, but maybe need a little bit more time with English language arts or social studies or something. If you're comfortable with the math and you want to move forward now so it saves you a little time for a different subject later, or if you're an elite athlete and maybe you need to travel, you're going to be gone for a couple weeks, I try to be as flexible as possible as long as students are working hard for themselves, working hard in the class. I'm very, very flexible, and I want to work with you. So yes, just make sure that you understand it and make sure that you're doing well. And understand that if you're working ahead, sometimes it might take a little bit longer for me to get feedback back to you because obviously I do have to sort of somewhat stay with the group I'm with. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. So that's in my grades. I think you can sort of figure the rest of it out. The calendar, the pacing calendar is really important. Okay, print this off. It's got every day from the beginning of the class to the last day in June. It shows you which days have the live sessions, which days are just sort of I'll be here for drop-in help. Typically it's Monday and Wednesday. 2:20 is a live session just like today where I go through a specific, section of the text. Today it was 5.4. Okay, so we always have those every Monday and Wednesday at 2:20. On Fridays, it's generally a work period, but I will be in the virtual session. I will be in the virtual meeting spot, and it's just sort of a come and go. If you're having difficulty with a certain question, if there's a part of the video that didn't make sense, if you've gotten a different answer when you're doing the practice questions from the textbook, it's just a quick, come on in. I had a little trouble with 4.A on page 183. I couldn't get the right answer. Then you and I work together for 5 or 6 or 10 minutes, make sure that we get it right, and then you just go and continue working on your work, on your textbook questions, on your quizzes, whatever else you need to do in the class. Anything that's highlighted indicates when something needs to be handed in. So, if we get closer to today, what is that, Wednesday? It's supposed to be the 5.3 work period. I was actually supposed to do 5.3 yesterday, but things got a little bit messed up. And I see that I have the official lesson scheduled for 5.4 for tomorrow. So that probably explains why I only had 7 or 8 people here today instead of the normal amount. That's just on me, frankly, because I've been so busy. I obviously forgot that I switched the dates because you were not in school on Monday. So if there's ever a Monday or a Friday off, sometimes I switch it to Tuesday, Thursday. But generally speaking, it's going to be Mondays and Wednesdays for your live sessions. And Fridays are always going to be the drop-in help sessions. So I'm going to have to send an email out to students to let them know, oops, I accidentally did this a day early. And the quiz for 5.3 is due tomorrow. So, I will be receiving quizzes from students that aren't brand new. Don't worry about it if you're brand new. Okay, so that's the pacing calendar. Most students print that off, just kind of keep it beside their computer or work desk or whatever and check things off. Just use it as a, whatever, it's a calendar, right? It's used to keep track of what's due and when it's due. You don't need to worry too much about the course outline. The calendar itself is just a more formal version. I don't think it's any easier to look at. There was in here, one of these places, I put an app that you can use on your phone. Might have been an announcement a while back. You can just Google it, but it'll be free. But it's an app that you just put on a phone. Doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or an Android, and it just allows you to take pictures with your camera and turn multiple pictures into a PDF. In fact, why don't I just Google it right now? Android free PDF. Pictures app. I'm just trying to remember which one it was. Cam Scanner, that's what it was. I see it right there. Cam Scanner, that's the one I used and the one I recommend. It is free. I'm pretty sure it's free to do everything that we needed to do. And all we needed to do is basically hey, take 3 pictures and take those 3 pictures and turn them into a PDF so I can hand it in. But as you can see, there's like probably hundreds of them. But Cam Scanner, I believe, is the one that I use most often. But you use whatever you want. Again, you can even just take your pictures and put them into a Word document or a Google Doc and hand it in that way. It's fine.